Welcome to World News. Welcome to World Talks on TVP World. I'm Anna Kalczyńska. Australia has joined France, Britain and Canada in formally recognizing Palestinian statehood, marking a widening rift between traditional Western allies and Israel over its handling of the Gaza conflict. This comes amid escalating criticism of Benjamin Netanyahu's policies, particularly following the appalling killing of Anas al Sharif and four other Al Jazeera journalists by Israeli Defense Forces. The incident intensified, called for accountability and fueled the debate about humanitarian law, role of the media and the prospects of peace in the region. As the situation in Gaza worsens with mounting civilian casualties, infrastructure collapse and shortage of essential supplies, world leaders are grappling with how to respond to both the immediate crisis and the entrenched political stalemate. Joining me in discussing the dire situation in Gaza and so far restrained reaction to the international diplomacy is Wojciech Cegielski, editor-in-chief Polish Radio.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, lately, Australia Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says Netanyahu is in denial over suffering in Gaza. So what could be the effect of the announcement of and the recognition of Palestine statehood? Do you think it will pressure Netanyahu to some negotiation, or rather it will have a totally different effect? It will harder its stance?
It is a kind of a pressure for the Israeli government, Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister, but also for the far-right ministers who are inside this cabinet. However, it would not change things on the ground right now. The thing is, if on the UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, late September, if it would be passed, if France,
Great Britain,
Australia and Canada, as you've said, would recognize the Palestinian independence and the Palestinian statehood, because this is conditional. For example, Canada said that it would recognize the independence of the Palestinian state if President Mahmoud Abbas, president of the Palestinian Authority, will organize the elections. In the West Bank, in the Palestinian territories, there were no elections since 2005, so it means 20 years without the elections, because Abbas knows that he would lose these elections. So this is conditional. That's the very important thing to remember. That's why this is the diplomatic pressure for the Netanyahu government to at least end the war in Gaza. Of course, ending the war in Gaza means nothing for the Palestinian statehood, means everything for the people, and which is the most important thing, of course. But it would not push the process of two-state solution forward, because this process is basically dead. International community, especially United States and the Western countries, are pushing towards two-state solutions. A two-state solution meaning Israel and Palestine, two different independent states living with each other. This goal is nearly forgotten by the Israeli government, the last couple of governments, and by the United States. So the creation of a Palestinian state is far ahead of us. The recognition of the Palestinian statehood would mean nothing in terms of this Palestinian state, but it will be adding the diplomatic pressure on Netanyahu, because there will be different kind of tools. Again, for the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, considering that the war would end, which is not 100% sure right now, it would mean a spike of violence in the first round and in the first weeks. But in the long term, they would have the additional tools to fight for the independence, to legally fight for the independence. So it is basically it is a small step towards the independence. It gives Palestinians a kind of feeling of the West, especially the Europe and Canada and Australia, are on their side. So it's a kind of psychological relief, I would say. But on the ground, in a situation of Palestinians who are facing in the West Bank, settlers who are facing checkpoints, it changes nothing.
All right, so if the two-state solution is dead, then what's left? I mean, is it the goal of Benjamin Netanyahu, who's pushing for permanent annexation of Gaza?
Well,
realistic?
He is pushing for the annexation of Gaza, and we are. I mean, it's very hard to say which option would be taken or which option would win. If Benjamin Netanyahu will annex Gaza or not, and if he will be joined by the United States basically and President Trump, or the European stance, I would say, so pushing towards two-state solution, although there are not many fans of these solutions right now, it's very hard to say. We know for sure that Benjamin Netanyahu will push his agenda very strongly, considering that he is the prime minister of the very far-right government, and his own coalition parties would push for it, because that's the question of political life and death for them. If there will be elections in Israel today, Netanyahu would lose the elections, would go for a criminal trial, would probably ended up in jail. So it's also a question of life and death for him. But we don't know if he would be strong enough, having in mind this diplomatical pressure, which is right now growing every day, if he would be ready and strong with the support of Donald Trump to push it to annex Gaza and basically to annex West Bank as well.
All right, but it's not only about internal pressure, it's also about external pressure. And let's talk about potential outcomes of this aggressive defensive war that Israel is conducting in Gaza, because many fear that the hatred and frustration in the Arab world would eventually turn against those who remain silent, who remain complicit in a way. So Europe is just waking up in a way, and there are less and less fans of Israel among the world, across the world.
That's right. And
is Benjamin Netanyahu calculating this?
I think he's pushing very hard for his goal, which is to remain in power. He will remain in power as long as he will have his far-right small parties at his side, meaning he's pushing very tough solution for Gaza and for Palestinians. He has no other choice. Europe is waking up, though in the United States, whether it would be Trump or whether it would be J.D. Vance in the next 4 years, presuming that Republicans would win the next elections, he has the very strong support towards the American evangelicals, which consists majority towards Republicans right now. So this is the battle of
ideologies.
Ideologies and two, I would say, powers. On the one side, we have that there is Netanyahu and his government, together with the strong backing of not only Trump but Republicans as a whole. On the other side, the European countries pushing towards a different agenda. The thing is, what would happen if, for example, Marine Le Pen's party would win presidency in France, because that will be the kind of a political shift, and France would not be as supportive for the Palestinians as they are right now, or different political changes in other European countries. So basically, I think Netanyahu is right now testing the borders, how far he can go, and this diplomatic pressure is too weak for him to stop right now.
All right. Wojciech, shortly, but we need to talk about the situation, the humanitarian situation in Gaza, and also about the latest killing. Israel killed nearly 270 journalists and media workers since it's launched its war in Gaza. So what are the legal avenues to bring to accountability Israel for those war crimes?
Practically, there is no such accountability. Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, and also former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, they are responsible. They are charged by the International Criminal Court. But it means nothing as long as Netanyahu would like to appear in some European countries, excluding Poland, as we recently learned about it. So there is no accountability as long as the UN tribunals are practically very weak. Israel can do whatever they want because they have a support of not only Trump, as I've said, but all the Republicans, who are also not compatible in UN courts. So he is pushing towards his goal. Whether it will be killing thousands of Palestinians, breaking any kind of international law, that's not important for him, because he feels that he can do it because there is no power that could stop him. Also because the International Tribunal Court is
losing power
and has any ability to get him to the court.
Wojciech Cegielski, Editor-in-Chief, Polish Radio, thank you so much for sharing your insight, Wojciech, with us here on TVP World. Thank you for this episode of World Talks. Stay tuned to TVP World for more interesting comments.